I've gone ahead to fold my fabric into four like so. We are going to be cutting the sleeve together with the main bodies. At the top part here, I'm going to mark 2.5 inches for the neck width, and I'll come down by 1 inch for the back neck depth. Afterwards, I'm going to connect the neck depth to the neck width. Then I'll come down by 2.5 inches for the neck depth at the front part. Then I'll connect the neck depth to meet with the neck width like so. After drafting the neckline, I'll go ahead and mark 7 inches for the half shoulder width measurement. Then from this point, I'm going to take the length of the sleeve. So you measure down to your wrist, and what I have here is 23 inches. Next, I'm going to mark the bust points line, which is 10 inches here. After marking, I'll rule a straight line over these marked points. On this line, I'm going to take the quarter bust measurement. After that, I'll add 3 inches to that measurement for ease. Then I'm going to add half inch for the same allowance. The next thing that I want to do now is to cut the circle base. So at the top here, I'm going to place my tape this way and mark the length of my dress. For this dress, I'm using 40 inches. So I'll keep turning my tape like so, like you do when making a flare. Once I get to this part, I'm going to mark 40 there because I cannot go upward anymore. Just mark your length. Wherever it stops, that is where you should stop. Then I'm going to connect all these points like so. Next, I'll draw a straight line from this point here, the part where we have our seam allowance there at the bust line. I'll draw a straight line downwards to meet this area where we stopped marking the length of the dress. Then I'll go ahead and cut this out. I'll also cut this part open as well. This is what it looks like, guys. So we have our sleeve separated from the main bodies. I'll go ahead and cut the back neckline. Afterwards, I'll separate the front one and cut the front neckline alone. Afterwards, I'll take off the upper part, which is the front part, and I'm going to come downward on the back neck by 4.5 inches. So this will serve as the length of the slit opening. Then I'm just going to draw a small C shape like so. The width of the C shape should be 0.25 inches, just very small. Then I will go ahead and cut this open. Alright, we are done with the neckline. And for the sleeve extension, I will fold this fabric into 4. We are going to be extending the sleeve by 7 inches. Then I'll bring one sleeve and place the sleeve over this. Please note that the part where the sleeve is on fold, the sleeve extension will also be on fold on that area. Then I'll go ahead and measure 7 inches on the sleeve extension fabric. After marking, I'll draw a straight line over this. Then I'll just place my tape this way and draw a slanted line like so. Then I'll cut this out. I'm going to separate this part so we can have 2 pieces of this extension for the both sleeves. Alright guys, we are done with the sleeve extension. Next, I'm going to cut the facing of the back neckline. I'll place the back neckline onto this like so. That's the slit opening, and I'm just going to trace out what I have there on this facing. Alright, I will open the dress like this and I'm going to place the facing over it. So this is what we have here, guys. Before I sew this facing onto the dress, I'm going to iron my gum stay onto it. After that, I'm going to run my stitches from one end to the other end. And here we have it, guys. I'm done stitching this up. You can see I've ironed my gum stay to this. Next, I'll go ahead and notch the base like so that when we turn it inward, it will lay very flat and smooth. After turning this inward, I'm going to fold my dress like so that we can get the midpoint of the front neckline. I'll go ahead and take the measurements from the front neckline through to the center back. So this is what we'll use to draft our collar. And I have this measurement at 8 inches. So this is the piece of fabric I will use for the collar. This for the collar stand. So I'm going to mark 8 inches here for the length, and for the width I'm going to mark 2 inches. Kindly note that this fabric is on fold. So if I open this up, the length will be 16 inches. Also, I added half-inch seam allowance to this. Once I open it up, it will give me 17 inches. I'm gonna head to cut one more for this. This will serve as the facing of this collar. Then I'll go ahead and iron my gum stay onto this. Alright, I'm done ironing my gum stay, and next is the loop. I have the length of this loop at 2.5 inches. After that, we are now going to cut the ruffles. So the width for the ruffles is 3 inches, and I have the length at 40 inches. So I'm going to fold this into two, and I'm going to run my running stitches onto this. But before I do the running stitches, I'll close off the edges. And here we have it, guys. I've made the running stitches onto this, and you can see the edges. I've closed them up. Next, I'll fold this into two so that I can notch the center, and I'll pick the other ones. I'll notch the top and the base of both of them. After that, I'm going to pull the string here to gather this. Then I'll place it at the edge. You can see I left 0.5 inch at the edge for the seam allowance. Then coming to the center, I'm going to bring the notch parts of the ruffles to lay on the notch parts of this collar stand. And I'll do the same thing at the side here. I'm going to leave 0.5 inch seam allowance, and I'll pin the ruffles onto this collar stand. After that, I'll distribute the gathers evenly. Then I'll go ahead and hold them down in place with my pins. Once I'm done pinning, I'll place the facing over this, and I'll sew the top part. And this is it, guys. I'm done stitching the top. I'm going to place the loop inside like so, and I'll stitch both sides of this collar. Alright, I'm done stitching the sides. I'll go ahead and notch the edges and cut off the excess seam allowance that we have at the top area. I'm going to turn this inside out so you can see what this looks like. And here we are done with this collar. So we are going to be facing this to our dress. For us to do that, I'm going to notch the center front. After notching the center front, I'll lay it open, and I'll bring in the collar and place the collar over it. Just pick the stand, not the facing. I'm going to pin this down, ensuring the notch part of the collar aligns with that of the main dress. I will just place the collar like so and pin down. So this is just how to draft and sew this kind of collar. It's very easy to achieve. Alright guys, I'm done pinning this up. So I'll head over to my sewing machine and run my stitches on these areas that I have pinned. And here we are, I'm done stitching this up. Next, I will use the facing now to cover up that area. So I'm going to fold in the seam that I've just sewn inward, and I'm going to fold the edges of the facing over it and run my stitches. And this is it. We are done sewing the collar onto the dress. Next is for us to add the extension to the sleeve area. So I'm going to place the extension onto the sleeve right side facing right side, and I'm going to sew from one end through to the other end like so. Here we are. I'm done stitching this up. I'm going to fold this into two so that we can mark the mid parts of the sleeve. I'll mark the midpoints with my chalk like so. You can actually iron this out to get a gator line there instead of doing this. From the stitching line there, I'm going to go up by 4 inches. This will be for the width of the first pleat. Then I'm going to mark 2 inches that will serve as the distance between the first pleat and the second pleat. Then from that 2 inches, I will mark another 4 inches, which will serve as the width of the second pleat. After marking, I'm going to fold these marked points like so, ensuring that the first mark sits directly on the second mark like so. Once that is set, I'll go ahead and use my pin to hold this down. After doing this for the first, I'll go ahead and do it for the second one. So the place that we pinned, we are going to be tacking that with our needle and thread, or you can use your machine to stitch that up. So I'm going to quickly do a recap on this second sleeve so you understand well. I'll go ahead and mark the midpoints. After marking the midpoints, I'm going to open the sleeve up. From this part where we joined the extension to the main sleeve, I will go up by 4 inches. Alright, then I'm going to mark 2 inches, then mark 4 inches. Afterwards, I'm going to fold this like so. So the two mark, that's the first mark we have there, and this seam allowance line, that's the stitching line, would sit directly on each other. Then this one, both marks should sit directly on each other. Once you have achieved that, go ahead and pin that part in place like so. And that is just how to do this. Now that you are finally done with the sleeve, we are going to sew the sides close and the sleeve. So this is how you do it. You just run your stitch from one end through to the other. After I'm done with that, I'm going to hem the base of the sleeve. And here we are guys, I'm done with this as you can see. Next, I'm going to notch this part. We have to notch this place so that by the time you turn it to the right side, it will lay very flat. I've turned this dress to the right side and this is what it looks like. And I've also gone ahead to hem my sleeve. So we are going to be fixing elastic to this hemmed area, and I left a little space here where we are going to pass the elastic. So when you are making yours, leave a little space there to pass your elastic through. Like I said, we are going to be using needle and thread to tack this area. So I'll go ahead now and do that to the 4 pleats that we have on the sleeves. For the elastic, just use your elastic to measure your wrist and cut it out. That's what I'm going to use for this sleeve. And for me to do that, I'll use my setting pin to pass the elastic through the sleeve like so. I'm going to use my pin to hold both ends of this elastic and head over to the sewing machine and sew over that area to secure the elastic in place. After that, I'm going to end my dress. And we are done with this dress guys, and you can see how this turned out. It came out very nice and very beautiful. I've hemmed the base of my dress and we are all set. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.